Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the second edition of Under the Hood, Acting Syllabus. And this time we are looking at grade 4 and grade 5. So let's get started. So I'm sure a lot of you have been with us for all the series that we had under the hood for speech and drama, and also for acting initial to grade 3. So in this particular one, I would not, I'll summarize the slides which have been repeated in the previous ones. So breaking the myths and facts about acting and deciphering the construct of the syllabus, understanding the learning outcomes, assessment criteria, attainment descriptors, and the skills which are learned on the way would be our main focus. And of course, we are only looking at grade 4 and grade 5. So let's get into it. Now, coming to the myths and facts. We all know by now, because you're already here on this platform, that this whole myth about acting just being a co-curricular subject is not true. It's not about being an actor in profession, and that is why you are learning it. That's not true. It is a very, very, intense subject because it teaches life. And therefore, all the myths that it's just related to one particular stream of art is wrong. Facts remaining that it's a biggest tool that a teacher can equip herself with. And of course, it comes in handy for every part of teaching. So let me take you through the life skills that an acting syllabus or a speech and drama syllabus or any other strain under the drama syllabus of Trinity College of London. How does it have this? How does it relate to the life skills, and how does it pass on and imbibe all those qualities which candidates can get from the syllabus or the tasks. So when a candidate is preparing for the exam, the first thing the candidate has to do is to research. Sit with the facilitator or the teacher, discuss the material at hand, and decide which one is he or she able to relate to. And that is how the research of the material to be presented is done. So the candidate has to dive very deep into it. And then the preparation starts. And the preparation includes not just your vocal and your presentational skills. It also includes your physical. How do you move? How do you use the space around you? And how are you going to mix your vocal and your physical skills with the material and the meaning of the material at hand or the narrative? So this, in a nutshell, is the communication and interpersonal skill that we are looking at. So when a candidate is exposed to this kind of training, it automatically gets translated into life. And anything that the candidate would end up doing would have a certain amount of thought process attached to his or her actions. Moving forward, while the practice of the task is happening, the candidate has to assimilate all the exposure that he or she has had, maybe the stories that they've heard, or they have seen some performance. All of this will play on their mind, and then something new will come out of it, which will blend very well with the material at hand. This brings in creativity and working under pressure. Well, not just the prepared tasks, but there are also tasks which have to be done under a time limit right in front of the examiner, which is also practiced in the class timings or the training timings. So the child or the candidate gets very, very used to this under the pressure thing. Okay, there's just 3 minutes to practice and present this improv. So let's just do it. And then it also brings in the organizational skills, not just on the spot organizational skills, but also technical things like handling your prop, handling your hard copy. Or if it is a communication skills exam, it would also include technical device oriented things. Therefore, Bringing your material for the exam and arranging it in the examination hall becomes part of the training, because in the examination room, the candidate is all by himself or herself. Therefore, one needs to be very organized. Therefore, we come to the last 2 points of critical thinking and confidence. The reflection part of every Trinity exam is the main crux of this critical thinking. That is where the candidate gets to decipher what was the process of this whole preparation. How did it happen? Was it healthy or not healthy? Or where did I find myself lacking? What helped me improve it? This is the process that needs practice. So when this is done in the training sessions, it automatically gets reflected in the pattern of approach the candidate gives to other aspects of life. And therefore, you have all these wonderful words that you see in front of your screen: creative problem solving, motivation, commitment, healthy self-image, leadership qualities, presentational skills, and all these beautiful terms that we want all our candidates, but all of us want these, isn't it? This is part of our professional development as well. So at every point in our life, we need to equip ourselves with these wonderful terms that means life skills. Now, coming to this term RQF, which means Regulated Qualification Framework, all Trinity exams are mapped to RQF levels. So you can see that grade 1 to 3 is mapped to level 1, 4 and 5 is level 2, 6, 7 and 8 is level 3, and the diplomas are mapped to level 4 and 5. More information is available on the website, so please do visit Trinity College London website to learn about the RQF levels. Let's get into the construct of the syllabus. Now, last time I had added a story to this section. This time also I want to do that. So, but that's not the same story. I'm going to tell you a completely different story. So once upon a time, in a very elaborate, beautiful city of Spain, a very, very, a very, very luxurious ship got completely damaged, and the engine wouldn't come to life, and everyone's ready to take the voyage, but nothing would move. So the captain consulted all kinds of engineers and experts, but nothing, absolutely no use. The engine is just not rearing up. Finally, someone got an old man, really old and in tattered clothes or whatever. And the old man came with a big toolbox, of course. He didn't start using the toolbox straight away. He just looked at the engine. He just took a hammer and just hit somewhere very slightly. And the engine roared. And everyone's like, oh my God, lovely. Okay, this it just seems to have, be a very small issue. We are all ready to go and everything. And this old man gave a bill of $1,000. And everyone is surprised and like, what? You just used the hammer. You just hit the hammer. Of course, that doesn't cost $1,000. So the man said, no. Hitting the hammer is only $2. The rest of it is to know where to hit the hammer. We have heard Indian version and all. I'm sure this story has been heard and retold in every culture and tradition. So there you have application of the knowledge that you have and knowing when to use it, not using it all the time unnecessarily, but knowing it when to use and where to use. So this is the philosophy behind Trinity syllabus, and it stays true for acting syllabus as well. We have the learning outcomes, which are the skills that the candidate would get themselves acquainted with while preparing for the exam. And then we have the assessment criteria. It basically tells you the standard to which the candidate has to perform. So is it, was the body language, was the use of body appropriate? or did the candidate own it up and absolutely, had a charm, had a personal touch to it? So those are the statements under assessment criteria. And then every task is mapped to the skill the candidate is supposed to equip themselves with under the learning outcomes. Attainment descriptors, the distinction, merit, pass, and below pass. Well, you have to have something to measure the kind of success or the kind of improvement you've had in your upgradation of skills. And that is why attainment descriptors become very, very important. And as I said in the story, transfer and application of these skills. Not even a single point in the syllabus would you find something which is redundant and not applicable, or it does not translate into application of the skill in real life scenarios. So also, each of these aspects are mapped incrementally according to the grades. We'll look into it in detail as we go with each grade. Let me take you through the main objectives of Trinity College London acting syllabus. Here, in acting syllabus, the main focus is on vocal, physical, and characterizational skills. How is a candidate demonstrating these three aspects in detail? And these are done through play extracts of different forms and styles. We'll talk about those as well. And without forgetting the 21st century skills, all these are imbibed together in the assessment criteria, which is looked at in order to be marked. So let's look at the difference of objectives between speech and drama and acting. When it comes to speech and drama, we are looking at performing, which includes body language. Okay, so how confident is the body language? What does the body language of the candidate suggest? Confidence or some amount of confidence or owning the material and things like that. When it comes to speaking, pitch, pace, emphasis, the volume, the tonality, and the phrasing that the candidate uses in the reflection tasks. These are the things which become important in a speech and drama exam. On the other hand, acting not just imbibes the objectives of speech and drama, it goes a little further and involves physical skills, movement. Does the candidate choose to move? If not, then why? If the movement is included, is it done in accordance with the material and the space? And if there is a co-actor or if it's a group thing, then how is this measured and what is the understanding and perspective behind this movement? Coming to characterization, how does the actor or how does the candidate relate to the character at hand? The connection between the other characters, the connection with the material and the narrative at hand. So basically, it will show empathy of the candidate towards the character, learning to be in someone else's shoes and think and act and answer according to those characters. And these things are done in acting through play extracts and engagement with devised theater aspects like improvisation, mime, hot seating, rework. I know these are new terms. We'll look into each of this separately in other coming slides. So we are keeping the speech and drama, speech and drama performance things like prose, poetry, and story. We're gonna keep that aside and go a little further, imbibing the qualities of prose, poetry, and play extracts into the different range and styles of play extracts that are done in the acting syllabus. Now, what is the difference between grade 4 and grade 5? So there are there are 2 to 3 performances that the candidate have to do and prepare for. And then there is an on-the-spot improvisation given by the examiner on one of the prepared pieces. Therefore, at grade 4 level, for the improvisation, what is looked at is the candidate able to show some amount of imaginative incorporation into the improvised scene, and is the candidate able to think out of the box and still show some aspect of the character presented in the prepared pieces. As we move forward to grade 5 level, hot seating is introduced. Now, in this, the candidate has to answer as one of the characters. So, if you look in detail, the technical aspects are not very different, but the intensity of the performance. For example, in improvisation at grade 4 level, one is only required to give some amount of imaginative input, and stress is kept on, is the candidate able to perform a stimulus which is given on the spot. When the candidate graduates into grade 5 level, it's taken a step further, and the implication of the improvisation and the connection between the improv and the original piece is looked at. So this is the incremental roadmap that grade 4 and grade 5 takes. More is explained with the coming slides. The assessment criteria have been divided into 4 different sections. The technical includes the vocal, the physical, the engagement with the space, and the material. Engagement with the material is completely different section to understand the choice or the choice of interpretation the candidate has chosen in order to interpret the material. Coming to communication with the audience, does the candidate show the appropriate, audience awareness in the body language and the movement used in the presentation? And then finally, the amount of confidence or ownership that the candidate uses in the complete performance. Here is the slide which talks in detail about the difference between grade 4 and grade 5. So please look at, I'm not going to take you through all the statements written in blue. That is because we have a lot of things to cover in which you will understand what do we have to do with each of the tasks at hand. So please look at the highlighted portion. For grade 4, it is in red. So create imagined situations through improvisation with some character and narrative development. Please look at the word some. And this is totally removed in grade 5, where you have to show total hold on the improvisation that the candidate is presenting before the examiner. Coming to the next point, show an imaginative connection between the scripted piece and the reworked piece. So, in spite of the change in situation, which is given in a rework, the crux of the character, including the dialogues, will have to be the same. Going to grade 5, there is more freedom given to the candidate. The candidate is now given the choice to choose hot seating or improvisation, okay, along with the rework. Now, in improvisation, it can be, the dialogues doesn't have to be the same. It can be completely different, totally different, but the aspects of the characters might be the same. And if it is hot seating, it would mean that you are the character and you are answering the questions put forth by the examiner. Now, coming to the attainment descriptors, you can see that we have distinction, merit, pass, and below pass. Anything above 85 is distinction, 75 to 84 is merit, 65 to 74 is pass, and below 65 is considered as below pass. Now we are here Okay, the exams. And what do we get to see in the tasks for each of grade 4 and grade 5? All right. Well, the performance, of course, the prepared pieces take the major part of the cake. So you are safe as long as you have prepared them well. And then you have the supporting tasks, which will test the understanding of the already prepared pieces. And then in the reflection task, there's a detailed discussion with the examiner. While you go through the syllabus of acting strain, you will notice words like contrasting play extracts. Now, what does it mean? It means that you have to choose the play extracts that are different either in language styles or in a period that they represent or the genre. So under language styles, you will have prose, verse, colloquial, and non-colloquial. Coming to prose, it would be the natural way of speaking. The natural way of speaking, that's how the play has been written. Okay, so for example, you can take Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. It's very interesting, and it's been written in every character speaks in a prose style. All right. Coming to verse, you must have heard of blank verse or rhyming verse, especially blank verse in Shakespearean writing. And it's a poetic composition which has been added to increase the impact of the character's portrayal and feelings. Coming to colloquial, well, I would like to take non-colloquial first. Non-colloquial is conversational English. It doesn't have to represent any particular location or status. It can just be how you and I talk. So you can say contemporary writing can have non-colloquial inputs, and that's how it has been written. Coming to colloquial, well, this would be a very, very, very difficult thing to imbibe while doing a play extract. A colloquial language style includes the location and the status of the character. Therefore, accents, slangs, lingo, all these things become very important in a colloquial style of play extract. Coming to the periods and the genre, well, you must have heard a few of these, and there are more. Modern texts, which would be contemporary writing. We have Shakespearean or Christopher Marlowe, the contemporaries, Elizabethan age. Realistic writing, which would mean that situations are exactly how you see it. It's not exaggerated. Absurd is completely symbolic. So you have a play extract majorly with Samuel Beckett's Waiting for Godot and all of that. So you have writing which is symbolically representative of realistic scenarios. And then you have something like neoclassical, where it's just an imitation of reality. It's not the actual reality. And we have so much more. So we can have a completely different webinar on genre in dramatic writing. So let's move on and look at other jargons which come under the acting syllabus. Now, you will read the word improvisation, rework, and hot seating. Let's try to understand what these three words mean. Improvisation gives you a lot of imaginative freedom, including not using the dialogues which have already been used in the performed pieces. It's a totally different independent take on a dramatic choice given to the candidate by the examiner. So the candidate is free enough to change the dialogues, change the situations, and still maintain some amount of connectivity with the prepared pieces. Coming to rework, one has to remember that the dialogues have to be the same. Maybe the character is removed from the original circumstance and put somewhere else. The context is different, or maybe there is a character trait added to the performed pieces. For example, the character stammers or is forgetful, something like that. So rework is something that the candidate can prepare beforehand. It's not given on the spot. Therefore, you have a lot of time to think it through and make it a completely different aspect from the already published script which you are following for your performed pieces. Okay, initial part of your task. Coming to hot seating, the candidate has to embody the character and answer questions which are not directly connected to the lines written in the play. So it can be about their family. It can be about their past experience, or what what the character would have thought before saying these lines. So it's a very in-depth analytical Q&A session with the examiner as the character. So that is hot seating.
Sorry, I'll just come in for a quick second.
Yeah.
A really good way to illustrate this, if you could please, is maybe if you could provide one common example across all three parameters, and see how that would how would one work it out in different scenarios, but with the same example, please.
Absolutely, absolutely, Dale. So let's do that. So let's take the example of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. So Willy Wonka is talking, and he's explaining, and he's showing his beautiful factory to the 5 children who have got the golden ticket. And so if I, as an examiner, am supposed to give the candidate an improv, I would probably say that imagine that Willy Wonka, okay, let me just take it like this. Let's do rework first and then do the improv so that you know the difference. Willy Wonka has a very tight shoe and constantly is fiddling with it and has to say all the dialogues with the tight shoe, and it's absolutely uncomfortable to take the flourish that he speaks with along with a discomfort. Yeah, it's a physical discomfort. So that would be rework. If I'm giving an improv, I would be saying that Willy Wonka invited the kids inside. Unfortunately, because of some technical error, the gates closed and Willy Wonka is sitting outside. Now he has to use a megaphone, a microphone, and explain the whole factory standing outside. That would be a completely different scenario to imagine for the candidate. So one has to raise the volume, the tone, and of course, half the time they wouldn't be able to hear you because they are somewhere in the factory and Willy Wonka is outside. So you really have to find a creative solution to that kind of a scenario given to you by the examiner. Coming to hot seating, I would be like, why is Willy Wonka so against naughty children? What's wrong with naughtiness? Of course, all of us have been naughty. So why is he so angry with naughty children? And of course, he doesn't shout or he doesn't scold the children, but he has his way of telling them not to be naughty, isn't it? So these are the differences that you find with improv, rework, and hot seating. Dale, I hope that was clear.
Brilliant. Many thanks.
Thank you, Dale. So let's get into the tasks under grade 4. So you are supposed to include 2 contrasting play extracts. Contrasting, I've already explained, either in language or language style or genre or period. And then you have to produce a rework of either task 1 or task 2, basically either the first piece or the second piece. Now, coming to the key skills. The candidate is provided with an improvisation stimulus by the examiner and is given 3 minutes time depending on how much time has been utilized in task 1, task 2, and task 3. Depending on that, The candidate would be given time to prepare for the improv and present it. And then there'll be a detailed discussion on it. Now, let me just take you through the red column over here, which translates, all the tasks which we see into the life skills. So with the performed tasks, we are looking at candidates getting equipped with confidence, communication skills, public speaking styles, because we all know that when we are in front of the public, we have to tell stories, we have to ask questions, we have to tolerate the crowd if they are not very interested. You have to improvise around it and make the speech much more interesting. So going forward, overcoming stage fright, openness to adapt and plan on the toes. So rework would think, okay, if you are taken from this scenario and put in a completely different scenario, how would you rethink quickly and present the same and communicate the message or the meaning or the mood of whatever you want to communicate to the people around you? And then respond creatively, of course, without, that comes when we are talking about improvisation, we know that it's unprepared, it's on the spot. So it translates into you being able to take a decision about what you have to say or do at any given point. And then we have the reflection task, in which one has to analyze the process, as I had mentioned earlier. The health factors, what went wrong, what went right, how did a particular input help and not help, translating all of this into your real life with every single aspect where you are involved as a person to deal with others. Now, let us see examples under each of these tasks. So I've chosen a non-colloquial play extract for the first performance. This is a sad story of a germ. One germ is talking about another germ, brother germ, who unfortunately died when he got stuck in a man's beard. Quite funny. I'll just read a couple of lines. We don't have a lot of time to read the complete section. So I'll just read a couple of lines to tell you how does a non-colloquial, a conversational style play extract looks like. Takes years of experience to do grown-ups. Oh, yes. My little brother tried it, just once. It was awful. He was only a tiny apprentice germ at the time. And he saw this man with a big beard and thought, I will crawl up that and pop in his mouth. And, he got halfway up and sight of the chin got tangled and didn't have the strength to get any further. So this is how a non-colloquial style of a play extract would go on. Well, I'm sure when the recording comes up, you can read the slides a little more. It's a beautiful story of this germ who's saying, be careful. If you are getting into someone's mouth, you have to have certain, skills. So go up fast and do what you want. Don't get stuck. If you get stuck, then try to come out. So all those things happen in this monologue. Let's look at something colloquial. All right. So here I have taken Eliza Doolittle's portions from Pygmalion. Now I have shown you an extract in which Mrs. Pierce is also talking to the flower girl. That is because I wanted to show you how the improvisation or the rework would work. So ideally, Mrs. Pierce's character would not be there, and the candidate will have to adapt that portion of the other character speaking. Imagine the other character being there and responding. So that would become a part of the candidate's skill, establishing the imagined co-actor or the character. So here is Eliza Doolittle, who is a flower girl, and the dialect used over here is Cockney. George Bernard Shaw was an expert in languages, and he himself was very particular about different dialects which come within London itself. So this is a very famous cult play, Pygmalion, where a professor trains a girl from the gutters and makes her turn into a duchess in an ambassador's garden party, and no one suspects her because her English is so speckless. So the start of the play has the flower girl trying to talk to the gentleman around to buy her flowers. And then Professor Higgins, who is present over there, is able to tell her where she belongs and that he's a teacher, and he randomly tells her that I can teach you good English. So she decides to come to Professor Higgins's house and talk about lessons. Now, she has a very, very bad English, which is called Cockney, which is one of the dialects in London streets. And she talks in that dialect. So the colloquial speech would include that dialect, and it would go something like this. Don't you be sassy. You ain't heard what I come here for yet. Did you tell him I come in a taxi? So this involves understanding of how Cockney is spoken. And the candidate will have to imbibe those, the tone and the emphasis and the speed, the pace with which it is delivered, and all of it has to be shown very clearly if one is taking a colloquial play extract. Very interesting. Mrs. Pierce is the caretaker in Professor Higgins's house. She is trying to put some sense into the flower girl to tell her, just calm down. You can talk properly to Professor Higgins, but she doesn't listen. She's very overwhelmed and emotional, trying to get Professor Higgins to give her English lessons. Now let's see how is the rework for these two things done. Now, for germ, the rework can be anything as simple as the germ has a stammer. So while speaking and while narrating the story about Brother Germ, he keeps on stammering. And for Eliza, it can be the same thing that I had used for Willy Wonka. She's been, thrown out of our house, Professor Higgins's house, and is shouting from the streets now to convince Professor Higgins to take the classes. If it's an improvisation, the examiner might give something like this. Eliza has finally got a chance to speak with Mrs. Pierce separately, and this is when she is expressing her desire to learn from Professor Higgins. Now, the focus would be, how will the candidate adapt the Cockney dialect and bring it into a close conversation with Mrs. Pierce? So the dialogues definitely have to be very much, she speaking her desire to learn better English in order to have a better status in life and not just remain a flower girl, and at the same time maintain the dialect. So this is where the candidate's connection to the character and the prepared pieces is seen, and there is a lot of freedom given to the character to change the emotion, to change the tonality and the phrasing of the dialogue. Let's get to grade 5 level. The only thing different over here is hot seating. You can read the part which is highlighted in dark green. And here, improvisation or hot seating. It's the choice given, it's the choice. The choice of the character is made by the examiner, but whether you want to go with improvisation or hot seating, that's the candidate's choice. So let's see what happens next. Now, for this particular grade, I have chosen a prose style, and I've taken Gulliver's Travel, travel to the land of Lilliput. And here, Gulliver is tied by all the soldiers or the little ones, and he is absolutely trying to understand what's happening around him. So again, I'll just take a couple of lines from the play extract. Oh, I'm so tired, so exhausted. All that swimming and the shipwreck, totally wrecked. I think all my friends must have been drowned, swept away. There's only me alive now, just me. Gulliver. What is this place? Where am I? Oh, I'm just too tired to explore. I just must sleep. And then he goes to sleep, and when he wakes up, he has all the ropes around him. So you would have observed that it has got the natural way of speaking. All that is important is the exhaustion and the disappointment of the shipwreck. Now, this is a long one. Now coming to a play extract which has rhyming words. So we have character of Helena from Midsummer Night's Dream. And here it's rhyming verse. It's not blank verse. Blank verse doesn't rhyme, but rhyming verse rhymes. So you have Helena going, how happy some over other can be. Through Athens, I am thought as fair as she. So you can see the rhyming words, the poetic composition given to the beautiful Helena, who's totally clueless why Demetrius is not paying any attention to her. So let's take this forward to rework. Now Gulliver has been given the task of feeling ticklish while saying the dialogues which talk about, oh, who are these soldiers? Why are they here? And he has to continuously feel ticklish. So the change in the body movement while he's being, he doesn't have much liberty to move because he's all tied up, and still he is ticklish. So that is the aspect that we are looking at. Coming to Helena, let's put her at a bus stop. A contemporary, a present day scenario, and she's at the bus stop and not in the beautiful jungle. So she's at the bus stop and giving her speech. So obviously there are people around looking at her. Then she's going on with her rhyming verse. Quite uncomfortable, I guess. Now, let's go to improvisation. So suppose the examiner chose to give Helena's character an improvised piece. Suddenly, Demetrius comes and showers all the affection that he has towards Helena. So now, how would the candidate use the lines in the rhyming verse in this particular scenario where it's completely different? In the monologue, Helena is talking about how Demetrius is not giving her any attention. Here it is. It's completely changed. Demetrius is here and showering all the affection on her. So how is the candidate going to handle this contrast and still is able to use probably some of the lines in rhyming verse? Or, well, there is freedom of dialogue. So the candidate can use normal conversational English as well. Now, for hot seating, if the candidate chooses hot seating and the examiner wants the candidate to answer as Gulliver, a question like, why did you leave your wife behind back home, would be something to ponder over. Now Gulliver has to answer what went wrong. Why was it not interesting to stay back home? Why was it so important to take the journey while he was a doctor back home? So what is so important and what brought him to the sea? So this is the kind of insight that one is looking at when it comes to hot seating. Okay, so I think I have taken you through all the tasks and aspects of grade 4 and grade 5. I would now like to hand it over to Dale